Hey Sagittarius, welcome to your weekly forecast for May 16th through the 22nd. This is for Sagittarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. We're going to connect and see what messages are coming up for you all in the week ahead. And although I'm setting the intention for the next 7 days, you may not stumble upon this video for another month, another year. It doesn't matter. You're going to find it whenever you're meant to find it, whenever it's time for you to hear the messages that are in it. Keep in mind, this is a general reading for the collective. Therefore, not every single message is going to resonate, but take what does and leave what doesn't. We're going to move you all just a little bit closer here. First card coming up for our Sagittarius friends is the Knight of Wands. This could be you embracing your nice fiery energy and moving forward in a matter or taking charge of a matter. But the Knight of Wands a lot of the times can come up when we're dealing with an ultimatum energy. So you may be presenting someone with an ultimatum. Somebody could be presenting an ultimatum to you. The Knight of Wands can also sometimes be someone who's kind of like coming in and out of our life. It is Mercury retrograde, and Mercury retrograde has the tendency to bring up the past or people from the past resurfacing. However, with this Knight of Wands energy, the feeling and the vibe that I'm getting for you guys, Sagittarius, because I'm getting I'm really feeling that fire vibe or fire element. I feel like a lot of you are taking control over a situation that you feel has gotten out of hand. You may kind of feel like somebody has gotten out of hand or somebody's being very disrespectful. And I feel like there's an issue here having to do with respect and feeling disrespected. This is what I'm feeling intuitively around the energy of the card. And I feel, Sagittarius, that some of you are blaming yourself for this situation because you're like, you know what? I really spoiled this person, or I was really too lenient on them, or they had it too good. I feel like you might be looking at a situation like I've created a monster. It could be a child. It could be a romantic partner. It could be a work situation where maybe you feel like you just catered too much and tried to work too hard and tried to prove yourself too much, and now you're feeling like you're getting walked all over here. And so I feel like you're taking charge of the situation, and you are in some cases full on giving an ultimatum or giving a boundary, like this is what's expected, this is how you have to behave, otherwise here are the consequences, or this is the situation, and like if it's not met, then like you're going to be forced to resign. This is the thing about ultimatums. If we're going to give somebody an ultimatum, we have to mean it, because one of two things is going to happen. Either they're going to tell us no, and we're going to be forced to enforce that ultimatum, whether we're ready to or not. Or they might behave for a little bit and then slip back into the old tendencies because they feel like, well, that's the way it always is. I shape up for a little bit, I behave for a little bit, and then we can just forget about the whole thing and go back to the way that I'm used to things being. So if you're going to give an ultimatum, you have to be prepared for the consequences of the ultimatum, the consequences you would have to deal with, and you have to be prepared to enforce it or to hold the person to it. If you're not ready for those things, then don't give the ultimatum, because it's going to just complicate the situation. It's going to frustrate you. It's making a statement to the universe that you don't mean what you say, or that you're okay with not being listened to or not being taken seriously. And I know that's not the case, especially since a lot of you Sagittarius We've seen an ongoing theme in your weekly forecast. You guys are coming into a massive ascension. You guys are really coming into a time of really great power. So I feel the majority of you are ready to uphold any ultimatums you might be wanting to give. I do feel, though, that this is a situation that might feel to you a little bit like like you're riding a bull, right? Or it looks like this horse is like trying to buck him off. And what's funny to me or interesting to me is in this particular drawing, the knight looks very small in comparison to the horse. It looks like it's a giant horse, and it looks like it's a small little like jockey trying to steer the horse. I do feel that if you are consistent and committed, you will steer this horse. You will keep from getting bucked off, but there may be some resistance here in a boundary that you're trying to set. Okay? The next card coming up here for Sagittarius, wow, no kidding, is the Five of Swords. And the Five of Swords is famously known as the burning of bridges, right? Or like a conflict that becomes a big ordeal, right? It might start off small and it might go to scorched earth in a very short period of time. And so there could be something here, Sagittarius, where you are feeling like you're ready to burn a bridge here. Now, the Five of Swords also comes up for me with a really specific energy. And those of you who watch my readings, you've heard me say this before. I see the Five of Swords come up a lot of the time in a situation where you're dealing with somebody who knows you very well and knows exactly what buttons to push to like trigger you here, to steer you, right? And so what do I mean by this? This is somebody who's using your insecurities or your fears or your worries against you, in the sense that, say for example, you grew up in a household where you were always being accused of being bossy. You were always accused of being bossy and wanting to have everything your way, and it's so rude, it's so selfish. And so then maybe you feel insecure about that. You don't want people to think that you're bossy. And now here you have a person that's being really disrespectful, or they're giving you a really bad treatment in some kind of way. And so you may try to set down a healthy boundary. And you may tell this person, hey, it's really disrespectful when you shout at me like that, or it's really disrespectful when you call me these names, or it's really disrespectful when you're making fun of me and telling people my business like that, right? You might try to set a very healthy boundary. All of those situations are situations that you would 100% be in your right to stand up for yourself. However, when you do, this person's like, oh, well, I know Sagittarius gets really uncomfortable with when people say that they're bossy. They don't want people to think they're bossy. And so the second you try to set that boundary, they're like, Sagittarius, you are so selfish. You think everything is about you. You have such a big head. You're so bossy. You're always pushing me around, and everybody says so. And here you are bossing me around again. I'm not even free to make a simple joke without you making an issue. And then you start to think, oh, well, maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe I'm being sensitive. Maybe I am being bossy. And so they know what button to push to steer the ship. They know what button to push to get you to do what they want you to do. Their whole idea is, if I can make you feel insecure about that, then you're going to drop the situation. So remember how I said some of you may be giving somebody an ultimatum, but this horse is going to try to buck you off, or it's going to be a little bit like riding a bull. I feel that the way that they're going to be resisting you for a lot of you is pushing buttons. Pushing buttons and like pushing the insecurities. So you're going to have to brace yourself for that. I know it can be really uncomfortable, but it can also be a beautiful gift. And I've said this before in other YouTube videos. When you find yourself getting triggered like this, if you can, it's really good to step away and journal and write it out and then come back and respond to the person and set down the boundary or burn the bridge using facts and logic without getting overly emotional, because anytime we're emotional, they throw it in our face like we're being emotional, we're being irrational, we're not being reasonable, we're overreacting. But when you're very calm and you approach somebody with logic and facts, it's very hard for them to dispute that. So it can be very empowering. So if you can journal about it, what happened, who was involved, what did they say, what did they do, how did it make you feel about yourself? As far back as you can remember, when is the first time somebody made you feel like that? Why do you think they did it? Why do you think they made you feel that way? What did they get out of it? And why do you think they did it? Release them, forgive them, release yourself and forgive yourself. Anything you're blaming yourself about, anything that you're embarrassed about. And then write out how you're choosing to feel about yourself and about the situation from now on, moving forward. If you can take the time to do this exercise, you're going to find that you're gonna find that those triggers no longer exist, and being that they no longer exist, this person's not gonna have that power over you anymore, ever again. And so they can push that button all they want. They can hit that trigger all they want. It's not gonna have any effect over you. So even though you're going to have to deal with the discomfort of somebody pushing all your buttons and all your triggers, trying to bully you or intimidate you into backing down, if you can work through that process and do the little writing assignment and release it, you're going to be able to get rid of a bunch of triggers in a very short period of time. And nobody's going to have that power over you. Not this person, not anybody else, because you're going to heal from those triggers and release them. The next card coming up for Sagittarius is the King of Cups. This could be water sign energy, Scorpio, Cancer, or Pisces. If you have any of those placements, you may be focusing on those areas of your life. I know notoriously, a lot of people are used to watching tarot for love and romance. So notoriously, the King of Cups is oftentimes stereotyped as husband or spouse. And some of you may be manifesting that or stepping into that energy. Or if you are married, you may be setting boundaries in terms of that role as husband. However, the characteristics of the King of Cups. The King of Cups is very generous, but he's also got a very strong, solid backbone. The King of Cups isn't going to be taken advantage of. And so a lot of the times in my readings, I see the King of Cups come up when we're learning to balance our generosity. And so, again, with this disrespect, you may have done a lot for somebody. You may have even done a lot for this person financially or materially. In some cases, some of you have been supporting this person way, way, way for a long time. And so the King of Cups comes up when we're going to be generous, but the expectations are very clear, right? The King of Cups is not going to be made a fool of. And so I sometimes compare it to a generous but a very firm parent, right? Kid might say, "Oh, please, 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 let me borrow the car this Friday. I want to, go out on a date." And you might say, "Okay, fine, but here's all of the chores that need to be done around the house before Friday. You have a test coming up this week. I better see a B or better on that test." Or whatever grade. Maybe you're like super strict and you're like, "I want to see an A," you know. and you're gonna wash the car and clean it. When you bring it back to me, you're gonna have gas back in that car. You're gonna make sure it's clean. So it's like, I will give this to you, I will be generous, but here are the expectations, and here's what you need to do. Here's what your part is of it. It's not necessarily tit for tat, or anything like that, but it's just like, if you're gonna have the benefits, here are the responsibilities, or here are the expectations. Because the King of Cups can be very generous, but he's not going to be taken advantage of. And so, Sagittarius, some of you maybe yourself have been feeling, and maybe that might be the trigger. Maybe the trigger is that you're being accused of being stingy or being selfish. And you're realizing, no, I'm not stingy. I'm not selfish. But people don't just get to come in here and get everything that they want and not do their part, not show up in their way. And so I feel here with this King of Cups is that a lot of you Sagittarius are going to be laying down boundaries with your generosity. Generosity and expectations. You're not going to deal with being taken advantage of. Whether it's a family situation, a romantic situation, friendships, work situation, you may be setting down boundaries here with your time, your energy, your money, and not give away so much, especially not in situations where it's not being appreciated. The next card that's coming up here for you all is the Lovers. And so this is a major arcana card. The major arcana cards are always going to come up when we're coming into a new chapter in our life, a significant defining moment. And so the Lovers card can oftentimes come up when it's a situation of choices and decisions. Okay? I know that it's often seen as a romantic relationship, and that can be the case because, after all, it is called the Lovers. However, when the tarot was first put together, the sixth major arcana card was not called the Lovers. Some decks called it the Choice, some decks called it the Decision, some decks called it the Sacrifice, because it's about choosing. Do I want this or do I want that? What am I willing to do to get it? What am I willing to sacrifice? How much work is too much work? How much sacrifice is too much sacrifice? So it's defining those terms and choosing and deciding. And so some of you may be looking at a situation and you're thinking, how much am I giving to the situation and how much am I getting back? And is that fair? Is that a fair trade for me? So some of you are looking at where you're putting your time, your energy, your resources, and you're asking yourself, is this really worth my while? The Lover's card is associated with the astrological sign of Gemini. If you have Gemini placements, then you may be examining those areas of your life or those houses, or there could be big changes and shifts happening for you in those areas of your life or in those houses. This could also be energy coming in here as far as figuring out what you want out of life in general. Because sometimes I see the Lover's card come up when you're asking for something, you're trying to manifest something, and it's not clear. Or there's a lot of wiggle room, or there's a lot that can be interpreted one way or another, and your angels and guides are trying to help you to pinpoint, to be more specific what you're asking for. You may be asking for success. You may be asking for true love. You may be asking for friendship or whatever it might be. But what does that mean to you? Because we're not all going to have the same definitions of it. My idea of a perfect true love relationship may be very different from your idea of a perfect true love relationship. My idea of friendship may be very different from your idea of friendship. My idea of success may be very different from your idea of success. And so sometimes I see the Lover's card come up when Spirit is like needs more direction from you, because what you're asking for is very broad. It's like, well, what does that mean to you? And so it's really hard to hand that over to you because it hasn't been defined yet. So Spirit says, okay, fine. Let's take Sagittarius on a buffet here. Let's take Sagittarius on a sampling journey. And so you may have different situations or people presenting themselves to you because Spirit is trying to help you define more specifically what is success for you, what is love for you, what is friendship for you, or whatever it is that you're asking for. Some of you might say, I don't want to do that. That sounds like it's going to take too long. I just want this to come in now. Well, you can skip the sampling if you take this time now and do some self reflection and really think about it and process it in your mind and figure out, what do these things that you're asking for look like to you? What does it mean to you? How do you want to experience these things? The more specific you can be, the quicker it can come in, the quicker it can manifest. Otherwise, I've given this example before. It's like walking into a restaurant and telling the waiter, I'm starving, I can't wait, please hurry up, please bring me food. What does that mean? You're in a restaurant, there's so many kinds of food. You might say, okay, find a salad, bring me a salad, but there's a million kinds of salad, and some of them don't even have vegetables in them. So you need to be specific about the ingredients. What makes this up? The thing that you're asking for. What is the recipe? What goes into it? And if you don't want to go into the time of sampling and tasting to figure it out, then take this time to go within and meditate about it, pray about it, think about it, and define those things for yourself. Be specific. You might want to check out your moon sign and rising sign if you haven't already. Some weeks your moon sign or rising sign might resonate more than your sun sign. You may need a private reading, which I'm more than happy to do for you. If you click on the link in the description of this video, it will take you to calendly.com/amethystangelite, and you can schedule a private reading with me there. Love readings for May are linked in the description of the video. Also, you may want to check out the daily messages as well. I've been posting daily messages on the channel. I thank you all for watching, liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing. I hope you all have a fabulous week ahead. Take care and be well, my dears.